Having identified school leadership as a need, Galen responded. And the way how we responded was programmatically. We put together a program that we called a postgraduate certificate in educational leadership. Postgraduate certificate in educational leadership. And today what we have are 3 guests who have participated in that program. We have run 1 cycle of the program already. The program runs for about a year. And we are asking them to talk to us about the experience that they had with the program. Our guests are, and I'd like to just briefly introduce them and then ask them if they could then tell us a little bit about themselves. Our guest is, of course, Dr. Priscilla Brown, who is a longtime educator at the tertiary level. We have Miss Melanie Andrade, who is a functionary in the education system, a leader working at an important level at an institution in Belize. And we have Mr. Nelson Amaya, who is also working in the education system at some leadership level. The way how we consider leaders, it's not just the principal that's a leader. The principal is a leader, the vice principal is a leader, department heads are leaders, but most importantly, leading at the curriculum level are the teachers. And this course is trying to prepare these personnel in order to help to curb this pending crisis. So I'd like to welcome all 3 of you. Thanks very much for agreeing to participate in this conversation. And I'd like to start by asking if you could introduce yourself, tell us a little about yourself and what brought you to this leadership program. We'll start with Dr. Priscilla Brown. Doc?
Yes, good day, everyone. I am, as mentioned prior, I am Dr. Priscilla Brown, and I have worked at the tertiary level for over 20 years at the University of Belize, and I've also served as lecturer at Galen University. I'm currently the Dean of Academics at the National Police Training Academy. And while I was at the University of Belize, I served as Dean and as Chair of Outreach Programs. And so I do believe that my experience at the tertiary level has provided me quite a bit in terms of leading and what real good leadership means. And so I look forward to sharing this discussion this afternoon.
Thank you very much, Dr. Brown. Ms. Mel, can you tell us a little about yourself?
Good afternoon. I would like to thank Galen for this invitation. My name is Melissa Andrade. I am the academic vice principal at St. John's College. I have been in the education field for 23 years. I've taught at all same-sex schools, and I've not had the privilege of teaching like Nelson at any co-ed school. Currently, I am at St. John's College for the past 15 years as the academic vice principal.
Well, that is very interesting. That is very, 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 very interesting because single-sex schools have some unique set of leadership challenges. So it's going to be interesting hearing from you, as well as hearing from Mr. Nelson. Yes, Mr. Nelson, introduce yourself.
Yes. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, first of all, for the opportunity to share with you all. My name is Nelson Amaya. I I hail from beautiful Orange Walk. I've been in the educational system for a little bit over 20 years as teacher, and most recently I joined the administration of New Hope High School in Orange Walk as the vice principal. It's a real pleasure and privilege to be with you all today, and hopefully we can have a very nice conversation about our experience in the leadership program at Galen. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for that warm and welcoming introduction from all three of you. Let's just get into the meat of this matter here. I want to start with a question to Dr. Brown. Doc, you have, as you indicated in your introduction, been a leader in higher education in Belize for a very long time, over 20 years, and you continue to be a leader in the system. As the dean of the police academy, I never could imagine 5 years ago that police academy would have a dean. So congratulations on that. So we'd like to start off by asking you, what are some of the challenges you see higher education in the country faces? What are some of the challenges?
If I may reference in terms of leadership, I want to say that in many instances in Belize, even at the tertiary level, leaders view themselves as persons who perform routine tasks. And so often, in many cases, there's a lack of vision, a lack of direction, a lack of proper planning, and worse, implementation. And so if you are not planning, you haven't assessed what works well at your institution, what you need to do, what are the prevailing factors that can bring about change, then you have all sorts of challenges. And so non-performance is often a major challenge. And one could look at performance as perhaps scores. So are our students doing well or not so well? And that again points back to lack of planning and lack of assessment. And so the challenges we often face that we have not totally assessed our situation in the institutions in which we work. I feel that also the level of commitment that leaders ought to bring to the table is often invisible, and it's seen as a no, I'm leading, so I'm the person in charge, but they're not addressing those critical elements that should bring change within the school system. And so the challenges are numerous. Lack of performance, lack of collaboration within institutions, a focus, a very goal-oriented and output-oriented, because you can have a goal, but are you assessing whether those goals are being achieved? I dare say that the challenges we face, while it also includes lack of resources, and oftentimes schools rely heavily on external fundings and so on, that impacts the quality of the delivery of the programs they offer. But nonetheless, I believe when one assumes a leadership role, that it is not just to say you're in a position, but rather that you do what it takes to ensure that some critical change occurs in the school. And if there's no change and it's simply the status quo, then I dare say that there's no leadership at all.
Well, that is one of the reasons why I was so determined in pursuing you and ask you to participating in our program as one of the lecturers in the first rung of that program. But I'd like to ask the other two participants who are recent graduates from the program. We have run one cycle of the program already, right? How did you find out about the program, right? What were your expectations? And did the program meet those expectations? What were your expectations, and did the program meet those expectations? Yeah, so if we could start with Miss Mel.
Okay. I actually had been looking for a program prior to this year, about 2 years ago, and the only program I had known about was the Primer Ed certificate, leadership in primary ed. And I actually attempted to try to take that to qualify myself because there were no programs that were being offered in the country that would meet the needs that I had at that point in time. And going abroad was not an option for me. So I was looking for something that was domestic. And I had been asking TEDS, when the program is coming before they were trying to launch it through UB, from what I understood. And then from my persistence, an email popped up from Galen saying that, we're offering this program now. So the first thing I did was send it to my president and said, I want to attend this because I needed to get qualified. Although I had gotten my approval of my post from 2010, given the education rules in 2012, they're telling me that I'm not qualified to stay in my post. So I now need to get qualified. But again, like I had mentioned earlier, there was no program that would meet the need other than me going abroad. And I could not go abroad for any reason. So I was looking for something domestic. So it was timely, in all honesty, very, very timely. I had liked the idea that it was within a year. I was a little wary when I heard a year because I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to get this done. Because I think Nelson and anybody who's in leadership know that we have a very packed schedule. Time frame is an issue. You don't work regular hours, you work weekends, you work all hours. But it was very manageable. It was a little bit different than I had expected it. But I realized because of the time frame, the 1 year, we had to condense some of the stuff that we would have spent a little more time on because it's 7 weeks. But in general, it gave me a lot of opportunities with different things. One, it formalized some of the concepts that I had been using, and then it introduced new concepts. It actually created a structure in which I could see where leadership needs to go. And it was like Dr. Brown was saying, it's not only about seniority, because that's one of the things that I've found in leadership in schools. It's based on seniority. You've been here 10 years, so you could be an HOD. Go be an HOD. But there's not a guidebook other than the rules, the educational rules that said these are your responsibilities. But they don't tell you how to become a leader. They can't guide you as to how to become a leader. So literally, you're thrown into the fire, or you're um, dumped over into the sea, and you either sink or swim. And that has been my experience with leadership. So it has to do with a lot with your assertiveness and the ability of the person who's above you to try to guide you, to teach you. And that was my experience in leadership. But with this program, it kind of structures it. It gives you more of a foundational information. And one of the things that I loved the most about it was the networking. How you saw what the other leaders in the classroom were doing, or the institutions, and it gave you a lot of ideas. That's how my dear friend Nelson and I became very close in terms of we started talking about how to do things. I've also created another bond with Renaissance at EPR. So we created a network of other leaders and shared ideas. And I think that was priceless. And that is the biggest gift I've gotten out of this, is how to share ideas and not be afraid to say, oh, that's a great idea. Maybe I could implement that. And I shared and so we were sharing. And so that's what I got out of the program at Galen.
Well, thank you very much, Mel. What was your experience like? On Nelson, was it the same thing, being thrown into the deep end at the pool and left to, as Miss Mel said, swim or sink? Right?
Yeah,
And so,
yeah. I think most of the leaders now in places in different institutions go through that experience. But from the get go, I knew I had set that as an objective, that you need to formalize your leadership, and you need to ensure that you get that groundwork done. And just like Melissa, I was hunting for a program. Like I said at the beginning, I'm relatively new to administration, to leadership in administration of a school. So I was looking around, and I was able to call the different the places that I thought would have been offering courses like this, and same like Melissa, they were offering the primary education, I believe. And somehow I got in contact with an employee of Galen, and they told me, you know what, but Galen is rolling out this leadership certificate pretty soon. And I contacted Galen, and very nice people there got me informed, and I was able to go into that. I'll be very honest with you. At first, I had expected a very monotone type of certificate whereby it's theory, 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 theory. I had expected that, to be honest, but to my surprise, the courses being offered in the certificate program were excellent in my view. I think the relevance that they bring to the table, the relevance to our Belizean context, the relevance to where we are and what we need to be doing was amazing. So that's something that I take away from this program. I was able to look at leadership from different perspectives because they were aligned. The courses aligned a lot of the topics that we deal with every single day. Um, I enjoyed, especially apart from the networking that Melissa mentioned, because I made extremely good networks with leaders from across the country, which in and of itself is I think invaluable, because when you get leaders from all different schools aligned and they're planning and they're seeing the importance of vision and assessing and planning and evaluating at the end, I think that brings our entire educational system to a better place. So that there is a great point. But I must mention also that one of the aspects of this certificate program that I really enjoyed was the coaching aspect, which is something that I had not expected from the course. Many of the monotone courses that I'm talking about, it's you get material, you regurgitate back, and then you get a grade, and that's it. But the coaching aspect of this certificate program was really impressive for me. Thankfully, Melissa and I had the same coach, and I don't know if I can.
You can name him, you can name him.
All right, I'm gonna name him because he's an excellent individual. We had Mr. Garbut with us, and he's a very seasoned educator, seasoned leader, and he was able to bring across all his vision. And one thing that I remember him saying is, you know what, you have to make leadership to be relevant to where you are. It's not one size fits all kind of thing. So that stays with me, and that's something that I'm applying where I am in my context, in my little side of the woods. So that's basically the overview of my experience with the certificate. Excellent, excellent experience. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Nelson, and thank you very much, Mel. Let's look at it from a slightly different perspective now. Dr. Brown taught in the program, right? So, Doc, tell us, how were the students to experience this formal? How ready were they to experience this formal exposure to this key course that you taught in strategic leadership? How ready were they?
To be honest, when I heard the classes would have been like 3 hours, I was like, oh my goodness, that's a long time. And I'm going to lose the students because 3 hours to be engaging a set of students can be rather long. But they were always on task. They were optimistic, sharing of ideas. And so it's a dynamic group. It was a dynamic group of students who were very insightful. So I love to teach and to give examples of real leadership scenarios, and they could contribute their own experiences. So in my view, they were not, as they would say colloquially, green, and that they had lived experiences which brought the course alive. But I really enjoyed the level of enthusiasm, and that we were able to look at the course readings and to critique them, and they were not just giving you very low level responses, but the level of critical thinking and analysis is to be commended. And so an excellent experience, which I hope in the future I could also once again contribute to their development or other students' development.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Brown. So the students, they enjoyed it. And you obviously enjoyed it.
Yeah.
You were presently um, met with students who could participate
Yeah.
at the level that you had anticipated. Um, thanks for pointing that out. Mel and Nelson, tell me something. You went through this program a year. Nelson talked about the coaching experience, um, the way how the program is designed. You're assigned a coach, and that coach is with you for the entire length of the program, right? Entire length of the program for 1 year. Um, how useful have you found the program to be in carrying out your leadership role at your institution today? How useful have you found it? Uh, um, 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 have it helped? And if so, in what specific ways have it helped by way of example?
Okay. For me, it is putting more ideas because I had general ideas of what it was to be a leader, but I didn't know how to get some of the aspects in terms of the collaboration that Priscilla talked about, Dr. Brown talked about, the ideas of how it is that you go about. One of the areas that I saw was a weakness in our institution is how do you get all parties that need to be involved, especially the parents, the community involved. We have a good grasp of getting our teachers, our students, and it's our little bubble, but we weren't able to go beyond the bubble. So when we started doing the standards, you started to look at the fact that the community plays a larger role, which is their parents, which is your the workforce. Everybody needs to be part of our little world. So it kind of expanded and broadened our vision. Our vision now doesn't just think SJC, we think globally. SJC has the benefit of we are now part of the JSN, which is the Jesuit School Network, and so we have resources available to us. So it also gave me that perspective. Now let's think globally, not only locally. How can we take those resources and bring them in? And how can we share that with our institution using whatever resources we have available? Because we know globally you have some schools and some of our sister schools who have a lot more resources available. But I think it helped me to realize how we can better use the resources. It also helped me to figure out how to motivate, because motivation is an issue in all schools. And so, how to use that collaboration for motivation. Because one of the things I think sometimes we do as leaders, we are very top heavy, top down, and then it becomes mandate rather than taking insight from, like you said, Dr. Barrow. Our teachers are the leaders because they're the ones in the classroom. So we need to learn how to motivate them, how to collaborate. And actually, it's as basic as how to listen to what their needs are. And as leaders, how to take those needs, use the resources we have, and make the best of the situation. So that's one of the things that I've gotten is how to manage the resources. Because one of the things I acted a year here as the principal, there's so many aspects that you need to think about that you get overwhelmed and you don't know how to prioritize. And I think the program helped to understand that depending on what you want to accomplish, you learn how to prioritize your resources. So that's what I got out of the program.
Well, thank you very much, Miss Mel. What did you get out of the program, and how useful are you finding it in your co-ed school now?
Yes. Well, one of the things that I really liked about the whole program is that all the courses and everything that's being offered um, is aligned with the quality child-friendly school framework, which is something that I really like about it. Is that it helps, especially younger schools like the one where I'm at. We're a fairly young school. It helps us to establish a very strong foundation from learning how to do a self-assessment, and going through the process of assessing and planning and implementing and evaluating, all under the umbrella of having a vision. My principal is went into the post the same day I did, so we are very new as the administrators of the school. So this program and the content that was taught helped me to look at where we want to be from the standpoint where we were, without having so much other things coming into play. So I was able to start from the assessment, and with our principal being able to establish, also with the entire faculty and staff, to establish where we want our school to be in the next 5 years. So that's one of the things that is very useful from this program. I think it's very important that schools in our country learn that we have to have a vision first, and we need to assess where we're at presently, and then move into implementing plans to get us there. So that's one of the things that I've gained from the course. And obviously these things change, plans change. We have to do tweaks and turks here and there, but basically that is what I like, and that's what's most useful to me: being able to assess and being able to plan, implement, and evaluate, with everybody, all our stakeholders, like Melissa mentioned, tapping into our resources, our community, our parents, everybody, and getting them on board into this type of exercise. So that's one of the aspects that I'm finding very useful at this time.
Well, thank you very much. We are running out of time. And so I'd like to have a last question posed to everybody. And I would like Dr. Brown to start. And Mel and Nelson, you can add whatever else you need to add as we bring this program to a close. The question is this, Dr. Brown. What more do you think that Galen should do, right, to help to ease this pending leadership crisis that is currently scourging our school system in Belize? What more, in your view, should Galen be doing?
When you speak of more, one asked the question, is there a gap? And I would certainly say that the efforts I've seen are very well thought out. But certainly the more I would like to see is that of collaboration and building within a school. For example, Melissa spoke about empowering others. So leadership is not only about the person who leads, but that those followers, as they're often called, that they are empowered to also assume leadership roles. I feel if everyone are afforded the opportunity to be an integral part of a school, a change process, that there's much to be obtained. So even as there are multiple topics on types of leadership and strategic management, looking at human empowerment and collaboration and shared vision, and while that is a catchphrase, how does that really work, and how do you motivate persons on the staff to be the best that they can? Because you can have 40, 50 people on your staff, but are they functional, or are they just existing? And so how do you work with followers, with the staff, to enable them to be the best they can? And so it's empowering the staff and the leaders to work in collaboration towards that shared vision. And so it's looking at empowering others and leading as a team, I think, is something we can work on a bit more on. Not that it doesn't exist, but certainly one that I believe is critical to leading for change.
Well, thank you. Anything to add, Mel? Anything to add, Mr. Nelson?
Well, I think an important aspect that we need a little more detail in is budgeting, because we need to understand that money is an important aspect of a school. If you're able to balance that, I believe that your schools can be successful. It's not only about getting money, but how to become a little more effective in using the money and actually being self-sustaining. And that's one of the concepts that I find as educators. We don't necessarily have, maybe those who study accounting have a little advantage over the rest of us who may have done math or science or something like that. And so the budgeting aspect, the finance aspect is very important, because if you can't manage your finances, you can't keep a school afloat, regardless of how dynamic a leader you are.
Well, thanks. You have the last word, Nelson.
Yeah. One thing that I was thinking from the get go is that I think a very good idea would be to target teachers that maybe are not yet at what we call the leadership stage. There's a big gap in preparation and in formation of our teachers when it comes to different leadership qualities. Some of them have them, but they're not formalized, and others might think they don't, but they do. So I think a good task for Galen would be to start looking at how to partner with our ministry to fill in that gap, and maybe bring across to teachers, to all teachers, as part of their development in leadership, so that who knows, those same teachers might be the ones taking the programs at Galen at some point. So I think there's a gap where the teachers themselves don't have access to the opportunities of studying in any form of leadership, whenever they are looking for professional development. So I think that would be a very good start there.
Well, as I said, we have run out of time. It has been such a pleasure, and I would like to thank you, first of all, for being outstanding leaders for our education system so far, and most importantly, for sharing your insights of this experience that you had at Galen with this one-year program, the postgraduate certificate in educational leadership. Thank all three of you for your contribution. And that is it. Good night, and I see you in the next offering.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.